if you end up running a Facebook ad and driving it directly to your product, chances are that's not going to convert as well.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode number 68. I am super thrilled to be here today. As usual, it's Tracy Matthews, your host and the Chief Visionary Officer over at flourishthriveacademy.com. Today, I have brought in a special treat. So we're right in the midst of the holiday season, and we're all trying to get more traffic and more sales on our e-commerce sites and on our websites. So today I brought in Steve Chou of mywifequitherjob.com and Bumblebee Linens. And I'm excited because Steve and I rap all about some interesting strategies for driving traffic, nurturing prospects, and then getting those prospects to actually buy on your store. Now, what we're going to talk about today is a great long game and also short game strategy to help boost and increase your sales and conversions on your e-commerce store. And I'm excited about this because Steve really brings some solid marketing principles to the table. And I've wanted to interview Steve for a while, finally got him on the show, and I know you're going to love what you're going to hear. The content was juicy. In fact, I was writing notes the entire time. I don't know why. I know a lot about what he was saying anyway, but I get so excited when people are sort of reiterating some of the things that we teach, and then also bringing it to another level and sort of explaining how they've taken a similar philosophy and really gone gangbusters with it. So I think you're really going to love today's episode. Make sure that you have a pen and paper handy because you're going to need it. If you're listening on the go, make sure that you come back to this episode later because you're going to learn so much about creating great email sequences, about driving traffic to your website, and also about converting, looky-loos and turning those looky-loos into buyers. All right, let's get started with the show momentarily. Before we do, I'd like to take a word from our sponsor. The sponsor for today's show is ninadesigns.com. Visit Nina Designs for jewelry supplies designed by jewelry designers for jewelry designers, including charms, pendants, leather, tassels, and more. For over 30 years, Nina has been inspiring beauty and creativity while caring for people and the planet. And Nina is so cool. Nina Designs is offering Flourish and Thrive Academy and the Thrive by Design audience a really amazing deal. Grab $10 off your wholesale order by going over to ninadesigns.com. You're going to enter the code THRIVE at checkout and you'll get $10 off your wholesale order. So ninadesigns.com, enter the code THRIVE, get $10 off your wholesale order. I just want to remind you that there is a limit of one per customer, so head on over to Nina Designs after the show's over. Okay, let's dive into the interview and learn more about how to boost your e-commerce sales with Steve Chou. Today, I'm really excited to have Steve Chou on the show today of mywifequitherjob.com. Steve, thank you so much for joining me today.
Glad to be here, Tracy.
So before we get started, I really want to dive into this interview. I'm excited because we're going to talk all about e-commerce and how to get more sales on your website. And I first heard about Steve on Amy Porterfield's podcast in the spring. And then fast forward, it's now the fall and the holiday season is upon us, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to have Steve share some of his wisdom about how he built some really successful e-commerce businesses and now helps other people do the same. So thanks for being here, Steve.
Thank you for having me, Tracy.
Yeah, and before we get started, I'm just going to give a little short bio about you, and then I'd love to hear more about your journey. So Steve runs an online store with his wife at bumblebeelinens.com and writes for the popular blog mywifequitherjob.com, where he teaches others how to start a profitable online store. So, Steve, tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got here and how you started an online business.
Yeah, I'll give you the short version of the story. Basically, where we live in the Silicon Valley, it's very expensive to live to get a house in a good school district. And my wife and I kind of had this pact that when she became pregnant, she was going to quit her job. And at the time, she was making six figures. And so when that day finally came when she became pregnant, we just thought of all different ways that we could kind of supplant her income. And we came up with starting an e-commerce store. And we sell handkerchiefs in our e-commerce store. And
that's awesome.
The short story of that is, when we got married, she knew she was going to cry at the wedding. She didn't want to be in photos using nasty tissues to dry her tears. And so we looked all over the place for handkerchiefs, could not find any locally, ended up importing a bunch from China and then sold them online. Those sold like hotcakes. And so when it came time to start our store, we got back in touch with that vendor. And we managed to, supplant her income, her six-figure income in a year.
That's amazing. That's such an incredible story because it's with the right strategy, you can really easily, generate a six-figure income with an e-commerce store.
Absolutely.
So I love it that she wanted special linens. My brother just got married. And so, all the details that go into planning a wedding. It's such a niche audience. And I think it's so great that you guys found this niche audience. So are you only doing handkerchiefs for weddings or are there other things as well?
No, so we do handkerchiefs for weddings, funerals, sororities, graduations. We also sell personalized napkins, linen towels, basically a lot of items that cater to the wedding and event industry.
Oh, that's so cool. So you've seen in your experience all types of e-commerce businesses. What are some of the biggest missed opportunities, in your opinion, to really grow e-commerce on branded websites?
Yeah, a lot of people, so I also teach a class on this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, a lot of people come into the class with preconceived notions of what they want to sell. And a lot of times what they're choosing to sell is just very broad, meaning they're choosing really popular products. And the best way to succeed with your own branded online store is to pick a very tight niche where you can provide a very strong value proposition and then press it. So basically do much better than all the general stores out there. And that's basically the way you succeed.
Yeah. So in our audience, it's pretty niche. It's jewelry. How would you, there's so many, it's niche in a way, but it's also very broad. So do you have any specific examples of how someone can maybe position themselves a little bit better with their e-commerce and their brand to get, more excitement around their particular brand?
Yeah. So in the case of jewelry, and I do have people in my class who do sell jewelry, and jewelry is tough. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because, to me at least, all jewelry seems the same. So if you just throw up a website and you put up jewelry, it's made of gold, silver, whatever it is, it's really easy to kind of blend into the crowd. And so the students in my class who are more successful with jewelry, they really have to present themselves as a personality online, and they have to specialize in a certain type of jewelry. So for example, a student in my class, she specializes in fair trade jewelry from Ecuador, which has a very specific look. And all of the jewelry that she sells on there, there's a story behind each piece. And so that's why through story, she's able to be a little bit more successful.
I love that because we're always talking about your story here and also creating interesting stories behind the products. And, the great thing about that is that you can use all that kind of storytelling, so to speak, throughout all of your marketing. So your social media posts and, if you decide to do Facebook ads or any of those other more advanced strategies can really help, create interest and engagement about your brand.
Absolutely. In the case for niche stores also, a lot of people, they make the mistake of just putting up a site and throwing up products. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to niche sites, you really have to put a lot of personality into your store in order to be successful. Because we're going up against Amazon and other shops, much larger shops, which have a lot more capital to throw behind it. And so you really have to just focus on the niche aspects.
Awesome. Cool. So what are some of your, everyone's always talking about, I need to get more traffic to my site. I need to get more traffic to my site.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite traffic driving strategies for e-commerce?
Yeah. So for our store, we have a three-pronged approach.
Okay, cool.
So one thing, we do a lot of pay-per-click advertising.
Okay, cool.
We do a lot of SEO work in the form of content. Email marketing is huge. And we also do a lot of B2B stuff where we actually contact other businesses who will buy from us in bulk. So I don't know which one you want to tackle first.
I want to go with SEO first because content is huge. I would love for you to describe a little bit more about how people can what you mean by creating content and SEOing your website and how the use of content can start to drive traffic. Because I talk about this all the time. But I think it's missed on some people, the importance of things like blogging on an e-commerce site. So I'd love to hear more about what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so one of the fundamental difficulties of ranking an online store in search is that your categories and your products, they don't have a lot of content, right? So the chances of ranking some of those pages is a lot more difficult if you're trying to link to those particular pages directly. Like it can be done, but it's a lot harder, right? The best way to get traffic and link juice to your site is through a blog. Now, a lot of people get stuck when it comes to figuring out what to write about. And the fundamental mistake that I've seen is that people write for the customers. I know that sounds weird, but ultimately ranking in search is all about getting backlinks to your site and strong backlinks.
Oh, cool.
And so one of the things that you need to do is you need to actually write for the influencers as opposed to your customers. Which is a little counterintuitive, right? Because when you're writing for the influencers who have really strong publications and you get those people to link to you, that will ultimately get more traffic to your site because those links are much more powerful. When you write for just your customers, they might read your content and they might be, oh, okay, that's great, but you're not going to get any link juice out of it.
Okay, awesome. So will you give me an example of how you've done this with Bumblebee Linens?
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to first make a list of sites that are strong that you might want to link to you. So for example, for our site, we generate a lot of content on crafts that people can make with our products, like with handkerchiefs and napkins and that sort of thing. So we might target a really popular DIY blog.
Okay, got it.
And we'll say, hey, this craft is awesome. You can make this really simply with our products. Here's like a full tutorial on how to do this, complete with really high-res photos. Will you consider mentioning this in your next DIY roundup?
Okay, cool. So you're getting basically you're creating content that the influencers want to include in their blog so that they're getting traffic to their blog and then you get clicks from their blog to your blog.
That's correct. That's correct.
Got it. That will make it more clear for the Thrive by Design listeners about what you mean by that. So that's perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, so I think the key point here is to write for the influencers as opposed to your customers. And then once you have like a bunch of links to a craft page, then you can like link sculpt it so that you want to link from those craft pages, or in our case, to the actual product categories that you want to rank. So what you're basically doing is passing the link juice from your strongest posts over to the product categories where you'll actually make sales.
Okay, awesome. Love that. So now I would also love to talk a little bit more about pay-per-click, because that's something that a lot of designers have been kind of exploring and they're not really sure how to do it. So can you explain some of your favorite ways to sort of use that strategy for traffic?
Yeah, so for us, AdWords and Google Shopping and the comparison shopping engines have been huge, and also Facebook advertising.
Okay.
And again, we have a limited time here, so I don't know which one you want to cover.
Facebook ads is probably the one that comes up the most. And if you want to talk a little bit maybe about like combined retargeting in with that could be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we run Facebook ads, it's always in conjunction with retargeting as well as email marketing. And the reason for this is, when you're driving ads, the majority of people are not going to be buying, and you want to maximize your ad spend by bringing those people back. And so let's start with Facebook ads.
Sure.
Facebook ads are really good when you're introducing a product that, like jewelry. For jewelry, it's perfect, right?
Yep.
Because if you're using Google and you're bidding on keywords, jewelry keyword terms are going to be too expensive. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
And so Facebook is a very economical way to get your products in front of the consumer. The problem with Facebook is that most people are on that platform just to browse or to catch up with friends and whatnot, right? And so if you end up running a Facebook ad and driving it directly to your product, chances are that's not going to convert as well, because you're interrupting someone from browsing. Mm-hmm. And so what we like to do with our site is we will drive traffic from Facebook to a content page where we can talk about our story, where we can talk about our unique value propositions. And on that landing page, we'll have email sign-up forms where we'll do a giveaway. We'll have links directly to products in case they want to buy now. And at the same time, we are inserting a Facebook pixel, a retargeting pixel on there, so that we can run ads, more specific ads to the people who actually have landed on our site.
I love that.
And so the idea here is chances are you're not going to convert them right away. But by getting them on your email and by retargeting them, you can constantly put ads in front of them so that when it comes time when they're ready to buy, they will actually think about your store and make a purchase.
Okay, that's awesome. So when you have these opt-ins on those pages, are these do the opt-ins typically go to some sort of sequence on the back end, or is it just straight into your main funnel email list? Like, how do you usually position that?
Yeah, there's a sequence that we use. It's our pre-purchase flow where it's actually 3 months long.
That's awesome.
And remember, people aren't necessarily going to be buying right away. And, for weddings, in our case, some people come on, they're just doing a little research and they see something that catches their eye. And they're like, okay, I'll just put this off. And so what we do, and we can talk about my pre-purchase sequence a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah, I would love to, because I think that's we talk about this a lot, and I love hearing about how other people do it. So that would be awesome. Yeah,
so there's always a giveaway involved. And so in our case, we'll do arts and crafts that, to make yourself like a DIY wedding, because things are much more meaningful when you kind of make the things yourself. And so the first email is always just giving away some sort of ebook or some sort of tutorial related to weddings in this case.
Okay, cool.
And then the subsequent emails really are about establishing ourselves as a brand and telling our story. And so one of the things that we like to do is we like to portray ourselves as a mom and pop shop, which we are.
Okay,
and we're a
cool.
husband and wife team, a very small shop. We take a lot of care for our customers. We make sure that we process your order by hand. All those little things that kind of make someone want to shop from you as opposed to like a big conglomerate, like a David's Bridal or that sort of thing. And so, and then after that, the subsequent emails are pretty much just providing content. We don't actually try to sell anything in these first couple emails, but they do come out very often. So every other day in the beginning.
Okay, cool.
And we'll introduce them to all the different products that we have to sell, but nothing is overly salesy.
Okay, awesome.
And if they haven't purchased by 10 days or so, we send out a coupon code. We only send out coupon codes, however, to people who have not purchased in the past.
That's brilliant. Okay, and so what's the strategy behind that is to try and get those people as buyers?
We're trying to just get them as buyers after a couple of weeks of content, and hopefully they've gotten to know our store and our story at that point. Okay, I
have a quick question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you get a lot of repeat clients for linens?
We do, actually.
Okay, cool. So how do you sort of like foster that repeat? Because sometimes, I have most of my businesses, based on referral and repeat for my custom jewelry business. It's high end. I start in the bridal market too. I'm selling like an engagement ring on the front end often. And then they come back for anniversaries or whatever. So I'm curious, like, how do you nurture that? Like if someone's going from a, wedding handkerchief, like what's the next step?
A lot of our customers are B2B customers. So these are the event planners. And so
we
treat those people with very special care.
Mm-hmm.
Like we give them
sense. Right.
Yeah. For the people who are consumers, what's funny about that is, so we don't just do weddings. We also do, other special occasions. And a lot of people are actually into handkerchiefs and doing crafts and just giving them away as gifts.
Okay,
and so we actually have a separate post-purchase sequence, which we can talk a little bit about also.
Sure.
After they've purchased. But just finishing with the pre-purchase sequence, basically, we provide them with a coupon. And if they don't buy, we continue to give them content, wedding ideas and that sort of thing. And then we present a $5 gift card next. And basically, this is just $5 off. It's like cash.
Mm-hmm.
And we're basically just trying to get them to purchase anything, no matter how small, because once you have them, once you're able to extract some money from them, the likelihood of them buying again is much higher.
Yes.
And this sequence basically just goes on for 3 months.
So you start with a couple of days, and we don't have to get into total weeds here. And then how long, like once the timing sort of spaced out, like if they don't buy after 10 days, you give them the $5 gift card. Then how often are you sending emails for the 3 months?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
After that. And if they haven't done anything after a certain number of months, we kind of probe them to see if they're even interested anymore, and then we prune the list.
Okay, good. Yeah, so then you're sort of cleaning your list from people who aren't really interested in being there in the first place.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. Great content. So now let's talk about your post-buy sequence, because I think that's important. Yeah.
Okay, so the post-purchase sequence, it really just depends on whether they have had any of the content at all from us or whether they've gotten any of our freebies. So let's say someone just buys from us and they're not on the pre-purchase sequence and they're just kind of new to our store. We start out by just thanking them and, going through the same story that we're a mom and pop shop. Thank you for your first time purchase. We will make sure that your order is right. If you have any problems at all, contact us and we'll just do whatever it takes to make it right. Okay, so that's the first email.
Cool.
Second email, we'll give away a gift, and it really depends on what they provide, what they've purchased. So if they purchased handkerchiefs, we have a special handkerchief ebook that we give out. If they purchased napkins, we give out a napkin folding tutorial ebook. Just a little value add that's a little unexpected for them.
So cool. I love that.
And usually at this point, we're all about getting some reviews because social proof is very important for an e-commerce store. So our next email is usually, hey, would you mind leaving a review on our site for the products that you've purchased? And this does two things. So one, it's social proof that goes underneath every single product page. And second, we use Google Rich Snippets. I'm not sure if your audience is familiar with that, but basically you can get stars in search next to your product.
Oh, cool.
And so the click-through rate when someone's doing a search and they see these star ratings, they're much more likely to click on that. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have reviews I'm on your site right now. Are the reviews on your site?
They are, yeah. So if you go to 18-inch hem-stitched linen napkins, for example, you'll see like a whole bunch of reviews. And if you do a search for that product in Google, you'll notice that product has a bunch of stars next to it when it shows up.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm not going to take our time right now to do it, but I'm going to check it out. And look, you guys were on the Today Show, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's a huge social proof.
That was really exciting, yeah.
Did you guys sell out? I had a friend who was on the Today Show a couple years ago, and her website crashed, and they were backed up they were prepared, and they even they sold 3 times. They sold 100,000 necklaces. It was crazy. Beyond anything that they'd ever experienced before.
Yeah, we were prepared for it. I did a whole server overhaul, and I revamped our site, and then we ended up getting 7x the order volume, and it was just nuts.
That is awesome. Yeah. I'm sure even for a low priced item, I think that especially for a low priced item is what I'm trying to say. It seems like something that you could sell so many units of if you got on one of those shows.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. All right. Okay, cool. So we talked about sort of an opt-in sequence where you're trying to nurture them to get them to buy. And then we talked about a post-purchase sequence about how you get them sort of nurtured after the sale. Is there something in that sequence that you also you might have said this, but bring them back to buy again?
Yeah, so we actually have content that goes out once a week on the post-purchase sequence, and it lasts for 60 days.
Okay, cool.
And really, it's all about just keeping our mind share, so to speak, of our store, in the minds of customers. And we're providing good content. And the reason why it's 60 days is because after 60 days, if someone has purchased but has not purchased again, we send out another coupon to get them to come back.
That's brilliant. Okay, cool. And I love this. How long did it take you to write all these sequences? Do you just sit down over a week and do it all? Or?
No, not exactly. So we actually took a lot of this stuff from our blog.
Okay, cool.
So you can take existing content that you have and just kind of, reorganize it a little bit and frame it in an email.
I love that. Okay, this is brilliant. Cool. I'm taking notes. I don't know why I like to take notes when I interview people. It's so random. I'm I can just listen to it again. It's so funny. Okay, so that was awesome. So we talked a little bit about Facebook. We talked a little bit about putting a pixel on your site so that you can retarget your customers. Then we talked about email sequences in order to keep those customers engaged and sort of nurtured. Is there anything else that you'd like to add as far as traffic goes, or the next question I was going to ask is how do you convert the sale? But we just naturally kind of moved into that. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about converting sales or traffic?
We can talk a little bit about conversions.
Yeah, let's do that.
And, several months ago, I redesigned my site just based on some data that I had gathered. And here's some keys, basically. We're not Amazon.coms here. We're niche sites, right? And so trust is a very important factor. And so people care about several things. They care about free shipping because, we're all being compared to Amazon at this point. No hassle returns. Like you're a new store, you want to make sure that there's some sort of recourse. And the third thing is just trust. And so the ways you build trust for your online store is you include like a phone number, you include social proof, like testimonials are very important.
Yeah.
And it's really, a lot of people say, hey, it's really hard for me to get testimonials when I haven't had any sales yet, but you can just give away some product to your friends or your family and just get their picture and have them write something about your products. Right. And plaster that on every single page of your site. You mentioned that we were on the Today Show. You noticed that because it's on the
front page.
Of everything, of every single page on our site. Right. And if you have any sort of publications, like we've been in Brides, Martha Stewart Weddings, Real Simple, Wall Street Journal, you want that stuff like front and center on everything. So every single landing page on our store, we have that stuff mentioned in the header and the footer. So you can't really miss it at all.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, social truth. So social truth, social proof is social truth. Yeah, I think it's really important. One of the things that I've done to really, when clients find me, I get a lot of like organic random traffic on my site and people inquiring about custom design. So one of the things that I've done to really build trust on my website, and I talk about this all the time, is the use of video so that people get to know what your brand's all about. And there's so many different ways that you can do it. If you're more of a personal brand, I think it's important that you show your face and talk about your process and show happy customers in that process. But there's other ways to use video too, just tutorials or in different content. But just thinking strategically about like what you feel comfortable with, and then also using some of these tried and true techniques to build trust so that when people land on your site, they feel like, they're not going to like buy something, their credit card number is not going to get stolen and like swiped, and, they're working with a reputable company. So super cool. Anything else?
One other thing I wanted to mention, is that, a lot of people make the mistake of including like Facebook buttons and Pinterest buttons on their site with zero on it. And that just doesn't look good either.
Wait, say that again. They put social media buttons and then what?
Well, it'll say like 0 likes, for example.
Oh.
It makes it seem like a ghost town. So when you do that, it's actually negative social proof. So if you have like Twitter buttons, Facebook buttons, and Pinterest buttons with a big fat 0, that makes the site look bad because it doesn't look shopped in.
Oh, that's a really good call. So I don't even see any social media things on your site.
Yeah, so on ours, we put it over the image. So the Pinterest button is over the image, and so is the Facebook share button, and there's no counts on it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so no counts on the shares and stuff like that. Okay, perfect.
And one other key for conversions is on all of your landing pages, you really have to have your unique value proposition loud and clear. So for our store, we carry the largest selection of handkerchiefs. And so we want everyone to know that as soon as they land on our site. This kind of goes through along with the social proof. We also emphasize, the fast shipping. We do personalization. And one of the main problems with personalization is that it takes a long time. We do everything in-house. So we make sure everyone knows that we can do really fast turnaround times on embroidery. So just little things like that that make people want to shop on your store and buy now.
Okay, that's awesome. So fast shipping, personalization, largest selection of handkerchiefs. Those are all your unique value propositions, or we call them desired sharing propositions, but the things that make you stand out. Your client sort of identify if this is the right brand, and then also connect with your brand on sort of, we say on a deeper level, but you're trying to take them on this emotional journey of like why they should buy from you. So great feedback there. Okay, Steve, this has been so awesome. I feel like I've been like scribbling tons of notes like the entire time. I don't know why, like when I'm really interested in an interview, I just take random notes, even if I already know. So this was a good one. So thank you so much for being here. Before we end, I would love for you to tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, so if you're interested in e-commerce, you can head on over to mywifequitherjob.com. There's an email sign-up form right there on the front page. I have a 7-day mini course if you're interested in this stuff, and just go ahead and sign up.
Okay, awesome, Steve. Thank you so much for being here today. so much value added into this podcast. So I really appreciate you taking the time so early in the morning, your time.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Tracy. Really had a good time.
Bye. Wasn't Steve awesome? What a great episode. So I hope you learned a lot about how to really nurture your e-commerce business and to help grow it and really create sustainable sales, because that's what it's all about, those repeat customers, making sure that you're attracting people on your list who are the right people, and then taking it to the next level with your tactics to try and get more traffic onto your site and really build your e-commerce business. So thanks so much for listening today. If you are listening to it on the go, make sure that you head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 68. You can grab all the links and resources that we spoke about. Make sure that you go on and check out our sponsor. And finally, if you've loved what you've heard today, we'd love for you to share this episode with someone else in the jewelry industry, or even a friend in the product-based business. And then go on over to iTunes and rate and review the show, because we'd love to hear more about what you think. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to being here next week.